Hello and welcome to my page, End Race-Based Law on Facebook, One Nation, One Law. Join us in the future of a unified Canada. Well, you just can't imagine how much hate this page has garnered. It's caused a big stir, let me tell you. I get Aboriginals from all across the country coming to my page, calling it a hate page. And you know, I have to tell you, the only hate we ever get there is from the Aboriginals. There's never any hate coming from any of us. There's a conversation, a discussion about our country, about some of the laws in our country, and about what we feel and think about them. The attack that has come at us from the Aboriginals across this country, you all know who you are, has been spectacular. Nothing short of, as I've said many times before, racist bullying, the likes of which this country's never seen before. I grew up in a household where racism was probably the worst thing you could be or do. And for so many of the immigrants who fled Europe during World War II, who either came before or after, it was a lesson hard learned, and it was a real lesson. 100 million people lost their lives so that we could have freedom, so that we as a civilization could move forward on what we understood from those lessons, those hard learned lessons. And now we've got Aboriginals talking very similarly to how Hitler talked. Pam Palmater, you know who you are. This Idle No More campaign has brought you all out of the woodwork, and I want to say right now that for any Aboriginals who are the nice guys and not engaging in the kind of cyber stalking and abuse and terrorism that we've all put up with for speaking our voices, you can stand over there separate from the people who are doing this. And you all need to start to learn to do that, because you have this group think. And you act as a race. On behalf of your race, you take us to court. All 600 nations of you take us to court over that Section 35 of the Constitution, which allows you inherent rights. That happened in 1982 with Trudeau. And the Constitution. The French wanted special rights, and the Aboriginals last minute jumped in there and got special rights too. And it's the biggest mistake Canada has ever made, and it has created absolutely the biggest problem we've got. You do have a bullying problem in your culture, period. It's something that is endemic in your culture. It has nothing to do with me saying it or anyone else saying it. You all know what I'm talking about. You go to any reserve and it's all there. I have collected hundreds and hundreds of letters from people across Canada who live near the reserves, who either married into that culture, your culture, the native culture, or are natives who are in that culture and can't speak out because they too will be bullied. But it's just been straight across the board. We have not heard anything different. We haven't seen anything different. You have a bullying problem in your culture. I think the only thing that Canada has to be sorry for is that we allowed this bullying problem to grow and fester to the point where you're literally attacking our country and acting on par with our country, as though you can tell our Prime Minister what to do, how to do it, and when he's going to schedule appointments with you. It's gotten bizarre. And as you've heard me say on my End Race-Based Law, you don't see the Italians standing up and saying, we're a nation and we're going to start demanding that you give us everything we want. We have to end race-based law. The laws are clearly not working. The fishery is a debacle in that category. Nothing but stories that pour in to us and that we've all heard along the way with regards to fishermen who were either Chinese, white, whatever, just not native, whose lives have been so destroyed and damaged. And you're not following the treaties. You're not following any of them. This is the weird thing about when you come and you scream about Harper not following the treaties. We lost track of the treaties a long time ago. You ceded the land. On some of those treaties it says you get 5 acres and a hoe. You've clearly gotten a lot more than that, and it's now into the billions and billions. Billions and billions and billions every single year that taxpayers put out. And it's never enough, and it's never right. And that's the main thing that I'm going to talk to you about right now. All you ever do is blame Canada. No matter what anyone does for you, you blame, 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 blame. That's your way of life, and that's your culture, and that's your industry. And if you guys have noticed, I've never called you lazy, ever. And I'll tell you why. I don't see you as lazy. I see that you have absolutely manifested, parlayed an industry out of this blame game. That's taken quite some effort. If you've gotten up to do anything at all, it's been only to blame our country, to take us to court. These race-based laws allow you nation by nation by nation to take us to court all the way across the country on a constant basis. It's costing taxpayers money. It's so wrong. We have to end these laws. We can help people who need help without having to help one race. So here we go back to who's the racist. Certainly not us. You are out there acting as a race for only your race-based agendas against the country and against every other race in this country. And you're literally using inherent rights. Bad wording in our Constitution. Did we ever make a mistake with that? Because you now think that your inherent right means that you can have all the land, all the resources on that land, all of our money, and that you can shut us up. You can't have all of them. If you're going to do all those things, we get to talk about it. That's our money, our land, our resources, our country that you are destroying. You want to attack the pipelining industry, and yet those are all the industries from which you get money. You get money left, right, and center from everybody. And if your leaders aren't passing it down to your people, that whole Chief Spence out of Wapiskat and her complaining to the United Nations of the world that she lives in squalor, imagine how that was for us Canadians who clean our own houses and our own front yards. And we don't blame the Prime Minister of Canada for the mess on our floor. It's sensational. You've literally become generations of blaming bullies. It's just outstanding. I really do feel sorry for your kids and for the people who are now in their 30s who think that this is a way of life. To just blame, 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 blame. Let's talk about the residential school, shall we? That wasn't Canada trying to do something bad to you. That was Canada trying to do something good for you. How else would you have gotten into the 21st century without those residential schools? Not ideal to ship kids off. The English did it to their kids too, boarding schools. My mother, when she was little, she was born here, but when her mother came from the Ukraine, didn't speak any English. She lost her language too. And they were called all sorts of names. They were discriminated against. Oh my goodness, the Ukrainians were very discriminated against. You guys sound like you're the only people in the world who've ever suffered. And that's part of our complaints too, is everybody in Canada, their histories read way worse than yours. So you go to residential school, you get taught English, you get taught an education. You don't say thanks for that. All you do is complain about it. Some of those kids were dragged from homes that were alcoholic and really needed some help. A lot of those parents signed leases letting those kids go. A lot of those teachers loved what they were doing. A lot of those nuns really loved those Native kids. Now, we all know the Catholic Church has had problems with molesting boys in particular. None of us are happy about that. And a lot of kids got molested and didn't get help. It's good that for whatever the kids went through that was traumatizing, where they needed counseling, it's great that Canada stepped up to the plate, made apologies, and gave counseling where it was needed. There are a lot of kids in Canada who don't have that opportunity, so you should say thank you for that. But you never do. It's never enough. It's always anger. It's always blame. You sit around in groups and gangs, off on your own, segregated from the rest of Canada, which, by the way, you chose. Nobody made you stay on those reserves. You've all been free to live your life in Canada the same way all of us have. And yet you stayed where you were, and a lot of your chiefs wanted to keep you there too, because that's where they get the money and that's how they keep their power. And it's not as if you're a democratic society like ours is. You have chiefs who just get inherited that power. It's passed down in hereditary. That's not really how we do business in this modern culture. We vote someone in based on their criteria, based on their knowledge of what they need to know to run a country. You guys are acting like countries. You're not sovereign nations, by the way. You're not sovereign nations. That has to stop. Yeah, there are a few words actually that you have to stop using. Genocide is a word you have to stop using. There's no genocide. And whatever happened to your people happened to other people too. Children died of smallpox, they died of disease. The mortality rate was just higher back then. My father remembers clearly friends that he went to school with just dying. That's what happened before people got inoculated. That's what all this modern day science and medicine is all about. Now that brings us to the whole trashing of Europeans that you've done. I've never seen any kind of racism like this before in my life. I grew up in Vancouver. We have Chinese, East Indian, Filipino, Spanish, Taiwanese, like you name it, we've got it here. Jewish, Italian, French, it's just incredible how many different races and cultures we have here, and we all celebrate each other's rituals and holidays, and there's respect for each other, and there's always a bit of conflict that goes down when it comes to people mingling and integrating, but that gets worked out when people go to school together. And you're not in our schools, and you know, you complain about racism against you, and yet you separate yourselves, you segregate yourselves, you do it to yourselves. In fact, all of this has been you guys doing this to yourselves. The more you nurture this blame game, the more it just is your thinking and your way of life. So you're never not in this blame victimhood. And as long as you see yourselves as victims, that's exactly what you're going to be. But what's happening now is the people of Canada are saying, you know what, we didn't do anything to you. We did not do anything to you. And when you cried genocide, you were literally saying that the Canadian people and the Canadian government are killing you on purpose. Do you know what genocide means? You can't keep using these words. You use so many words wrong, incorrectly. It's incredible. First of all, self-determination is not when you use other people's money. That's not self-determination. It's not when you use other people's laws to give you rights that other people don't have, to bash our courts, our country through our courts. It just doesn't give you that right. We have to end race-based laws. This inherent right thing has made you guys absolute complete bullies. So let's go back to the kind of stuff that you guys write to me. Let's just have a little look at the way, first of all, let's look at how you got taught to be racist. Here's a quote from James Gosnell, the chairman of Niska's Tribal Council. "We are the true owners of British Columbia. The Indians across the province own everything. The rivers, the trees, the bugs, the animals, you name it. Subsurface rights, the air, the rain, the whole shot. That's what we mean when we say we have Aboriginal title to the land." Now, you've all been raised with this kind of thinking. It's disgusting racism. The air we breathe, you go back in Canadian history and you try to find one white politician, and I'm saying white because you guys are obsessed with white people. Oh, let me wait till I get into that. You find one white politician ever in the history of the universe who ever said we own the air you breathe. I don't even think Hitler said that. That is how racist and disgusting what that statement is. You guys should be ashamed of yourselves. But that's the general tenor of the way that you speak, and you've created this atmosphere where you bully anybody who doesn't go along with it. You're calling my page a hate page when it's really you guys who come and hate. We don't hate. We're sick of you guys hating on us. We're sick of your racism. It's your racism. This is racism. Not only is it racism that you use your race to bash Canada and to try to get special rights, but let's listen to some of the kind of racist crap that we've had to listen to. Here's Jürgen Kassa, who was a real regular on Sun News Network. He wrote to me, "Just you filthy lying, hate-mongering troll. You have no credibility or brains, vocabulary, and vitriol. Do not make you intelligent or impressive in any positive way. If you honestly believe the vile hate speech you spew on these pages, then you are the worst kind of human garbage in existence, and you should rightly be killed." Yes, I got quite a few of those "I should rightly be killed" things. I got another girl who, after I got a number of other death threats, she said, came to my page. They come to my page and attack me. I don't go to their pages and attack them. "Michele Tittler, good for you for getting threatened. You put yourself in the position when you went public on your status." Okay, and she goes on and on and on, and she blames me for raping her children, for stealing her children, for smallpox. That was the biggest blanket ever. It stretched across centuries. And this is the dialogue we're talking about. You have a couple things that you talk about, the residential schools. You talk about sexual abuse, but you won't talk about your own sexual abuse or your own incest problems or your own domestic violence problems. You are so quick to just jump onto anything bad. White man is bad. Oh my God, I didn't even know that people actually talk that way. Do you know how many times I've been called KKK and white supremacist? Sickening. I put up a petition and there are like 150 replies from you guys, all acting as if you're white supremacists, talking as white supremacists and KKK people. This is what you do. You attack anyone and bully and threaten and harass. You have threatened people's lives. You have threatened to call their work, and you have indeed called people's work and gotten them fired. You've ganged up on them. You're gangs. You do have a gang problem. We've seen that cyber stalking gang thing go on there. For me, you have created fake profiles on Facebook. Every couple of days I have to report them. You have created fake profiles on Twitter and spoken for me. You've stolen my photos and actually spoken for me. That's literally a slander and libel suit. Slibel. That's good, because that's what you guys do all over the place. You created a website you stole my name, Michele, and created a website. It's been disgusting what you've done. Absolutely disgusting what you've done. And it hasn't just been me that you've done that to. You've done that to every single person who spoke out. You stalked them on Facebook. You created fake profiles of many, many people who dared speak out. We lost a lot of people because you scared them off. And politicians are scared off too. And that's where we're coming down to it now in BC here. If you're scaring politicians off, and that's what you're going to keep doing. And you're going to call them a racist. And so what we're going to do is we're going to change the dialogue to what racist really means. And that's when you use your race to bully and attack Canada and anyone who speaks out against you. You're bullies. What you're doing is literally equivalent to the Jews in Germany calling Hitler a racist for doing what he was doing for his race, and then him turning around and attacking them, which is, you know, what happened. That's what you're doing. You're being the Hitlers. I love how you've associated my last name, Tittler, with Hitler, except that in our household, being racist was really the most awful thing you could be. And that's why I'm doing this. I want you to know I'm doing this for all of Canada. I love my country. I love that we're multicultural and we're all from around the world and we all make it work. And we do notice that you guys are the only ones that can't make it work. Over and over and over again, you're the only ones ever complaining. And you know, it's just really an extortion game. That blame game is disgusting, and you need to move on from it now. No one has done anything to you. We're living in 2013, and when you attack our country like that, I literally got mail telling me, talking to me as if I was from 400 years ago, from a 30-year-old girl acting as if she was from 400 years ago, telling me what I did to her people. It's disgusting. You have to stop doing that. You're not from 400 years ago. You're individuals. You're not one group think. And if you're going to group think and group talk, then we're going to group reply. Do you see how that works? You can't act as one big group think race against our country, take us to court as a race, get out on Idle No More, block our streets, block our industry as a race, tell everyone in Canada you're the stewards of the land and you're the environmentalists. Oh my God, don't get me started on that one. Please, everyone has seen your reserves. Go clean up your own lives, get your own acts together, deal with your substance abuse problems and all of your abuse problems, and do not start telling anyone in this country how to do things. We voted for a democratically elected government, majority government, and you are not it. And that's what it basically gets down to, is you've taken these race-based laws to such a great extent that you're bullying our country, acting on par with one 300-person band, tribe, not a nation, a tribe. And by the way, we've all moved out of those tribal times now. You don't have to come with everybody if you don't want to. If you want to keep your culture stuck in 10,000 years ago, please do so, but not at our expense anymore, and not undermining our democratically elected government, and not taking our taxpayer money, and not blaming anyone for anything. One individual person may do something to one other individual person, but just because that person is white doesn't mean that all white people have done this to all of you. And yet you come to my page and you say I can't paint all Aboriginals with the same brush. Excuse me, stop acting as if one brush. That's the way it works. You all need to separate yourselves from the bullies who are doing this, from Pam Palmater, who is just so dangerous for this country. This is a girl who's come out from basically white man's land, if you want to talk about your wording. Oh, by the way, the white man thing, I need for you to point out who white man is. I'm not really sure who that is. I've gotten thousands, mountains of pages of I hate white man is the scourge of the universe stuff, and then you call me a racist. I've never seen anything so racist in all my life as how you talk about white man. Now we've got Pam Palmater, who's basically a white man, talking as if this whole colonialism thing is, well, it was a big mistake and the Aboriginals are now going to change it back and we're going to go back 10,000 years. And you're doing this on computers. You know, you're so afraid of assimilation, yet you haven't recognized that it's too late. You're on computers, you speak English. We all had to assimilate. In fact, that's sort of part of the trick of life, isn't it? Is adapting to your surroundings and making the best of what's going on. Now, you guys need to learn how to be grateful for your lives, how to say thank you to Canada for everything that we have all done, because we've cared about you We've cared about the squalor that you were living in, which was actually your doing, not ours. We have soaked money galore, programs galore, and none of it is working. And you know why it's not working? Because your attitudes suck. Really. Your attitudes are just crappy as hell. And nobody in life makes it with a bad attitude. Any psychologist, if you're going to do some healing, that's the healing you need to do. Get over it.